Mike, Kobe.
Bottom Line Sports Show is back. We here, and I'm telling you something. New, improved, we got everything. And we got somebody here that's rap royalty. Chante Cheeks.
Wait, no, I can spit rhymes though. Wait, Mike hasn't heard me. I can spit though.
Chante.
Tell him, back me up, Gerald.
That was a joke.
Come on.
You know what, Chante? You do have skills. Not just
Thank
to pay.
you.
You don't have the skills to pay the bills yet. Come on.
Nah, you're right. I ain't got that.
You don't have the skills to pay the bills. But you know what, people? Great show tonight. But first and foremost, got to introduce somebody. It's an honor and a privilege. Just in a short time, I've got a chance to know this brother, and I've always got to pay respect and pay homage to, you know, again, the accomplishments that he has made. And I forgive him for picking the Lakers, but he stands by his team. He stands by his team. But first and foremost, rap royalty. The legendary Phife Dawg, the Tribe Called Quest is in the building.
What up?
And you know, the lovely Chante Cheeks, who's showing off that, you know what, it is hot in California. And please don't ask her to rhyme.
Cool.
Great show tonight. We're going to break down NBA Finals. We're going to talk about just really the NBA first team, the NBA all-team selections. We're going to talk about Donald Sterling's finally, which it seems like this is past us. The Rangers, you know, hockey talk. So we're going to be talking about a lot of that. Former NBA player who played with the San Antonio Spurs, won an NBA championship with the Miami Heat. Derek Anderson will be joining us about 9:30. We'll also talk to former WNBA player Chantelle Anderson to talk about her favorite team, the San Antonio Spurs. Also, Mike Basone, young filmmaker, made an outstanding documentary called Knicks Fan for Life. We'll be talking to him. So we definitely got so much to talk about. But, you know, off air, we had this discussion going on. And, you know, one of the things about it, you know, Chante has never been bashful and letting everybody know that Kobe Bryant is her number one, you know, she's a number one fan. And there's nothing wrong with that. She doesn't respect, I wouldn't say respect, acknowledge a player like LeBron James. And just so happens that we started a conversation off air, bringing it to on air in terms of the first team All-NBA selections were made today. And the only unanimous first team selection that was a unanimous vote happened to be Kevin Durant. Now, Chante, you know, again, LeBron James is the heart and soul of the Miami Heat, hands down. Would you have voted for him as a unanimous selection based upon his success and the team's success, more important?
Probably. I would probably actually, believe it or not, voted him in. He's a good player. He does deserve to be first team. But now, Kevin Durant is that dude. Let me just say that.
God bless you. But you know what? The thing is that, you know, it's never been a question of if he deserves to be on there. But Phife, he wasn't voted in as a first team, a unanimous selection, excuse me. And that was the most surprising thing. Now, let's go back to the fact is that you talked about the whole situation in terms of the decision, or the better yet, the pep rally, if you will, something that was given by the Miami Heat. A lot of people still hold on to the fact is the comments that were made by LeBron in terms of not one, not two, not three. Even after 2 championships, Phife, does he still have to hold on, sort of really hold up that sort of mantra of saying he has to reach a 7 or 8 before people say acknowledge his greatness?
Well, I acknowledge his greatness. However, I feel like he has to win at least 5. At least. I mean, everybody wants to compare him to MJ. Can't really do that just yet. It's too early for all that. As far as Kobe, he was injured. He was out all year. Okay, fine. But I do acknowledge his greatness, however. And I think everybody else needs to do the same. I really do.
Yeah. Joakim Noah, James Harden, Chris Paul, along with Kevin Durant and LeBron James. Fife, is there a need right now for it to be a situation where let's do away with the whole notion of you have to pick a center, it has to be a center, because there's a guy like Blake Griffin who arguably could have been, if not the third person in the MVP balloting.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the second team. And I mean, James Harden, for all he's done, but you really start to weigh it down. I can't see why a guy like Blake Griffin was not on the first team, especially after the year that he had.
Well, I think, who would you replace? Maybe James Harden, huh?
Well, I would replace James Harden. I mean, clearly you wouldn't take off LeBron or Kevin Durant, but James Harden, and I think Chris Paul, you would have to acknowledge him as that. But I believe that, honestly, James Harden would need to be there. But it's all predicated on the fact is that they got to have a center, you got to have a forward, you got to have a guard, all those types of things. I say just pick the best 5 players. Agree or disagree?
Pick the best 5 players. And to be honest with you, I thought before this season began that Blake was a little overrated. I really did, because the past 2 playoffs, the previous playoffs, Zach Randolph was just bully-footing him all over the place. You know what I mean? But I think with Chris Paul getting hurt, unfortunately, it just happened to be a blessing in disguise for Blake Griffin, along with Doc Rivers going to L.A., being his coach. He really stepped up his game. I can't even know. He should be in that top 5 right now. James Harden, I'd replace James Harden with Blake Griffin right about now, as far as the best 5 players on that first team.
Yeah. Now, Chante, you look at
Gerald, let me follow up on your first question about LeBron having to live up to 5 rings and the debacle with the not 1, not 2, not 8 rings or whatever. I want to ask you a question. You think I give LeBron too much grief, but he's the best player in the league. Some think he's the best player ever. He's playing in the softest league that we've ever watched in the NBA. He's one of the most athletic players we ever seen. He's a straight freight train. He can do whatever he wants on the court. He can go inside. He can shoot from the outside. He has a lot of size. Don't you think that it's easier for him to win all of those rings that he claims they are able to win? Not only is he a great player, but he has a good team and a great coach. Don't you think if he can't at least win 5 rings, it has to taint his legacy in the long run? How can he not live up to that? He doesn't have. It's not the same league as when Jordan played, not even when Kobe played in his prime. It's easier for LeBron. Do you agree?
I disagree with you wholeheartedly, and you made mention of this last night here on the Bottom Line Sports Show. Gerald Brown, Malik Phife Taylor, Phife Dog, Chante Cheeks. One of the things I will say is this whole notion that the NBA is just basically, I will argue that the NBA, all of a sudden now, you have all these watered-down teams. Let's go back to when Magic and Bird played. And at their heyday, there was just really a handful of teams that were really worthy of perhaps even getting an opportunity maybe to contend for a championship. You saw it as the tail end of the Lakers and the Celtics' dominant run. That's when you start to see the teams like the Pistons, and then after that, the Bulls. It's always been this situation, especially when you've had expansion in an era when a guy like Kobe Bryant was there. Not to take anything away from Kobe Bryant, but let's acknowledge the fact is, number one, I think it's unfair that the grief that LeBron gets in terms of the things that he said at the sort of pep rally, because he's there to help sell tickets, and boost up the morale. Number 2, let me finish. There is not. He has a okay team. If you look at that bench, you can sit back and tell me that Birdman Anderson, Rashard Lewis, they have pieces that work very well. They don't have a dominant big man. And the thing is that for all the grief that people said, there's 2 things I will say. Number 1, they've gone to 4 straight NBA finals. Number 2, on top of that, you're going to see teams in the NBA copycat what they have done, and it's not going to stop at all.
This guy had the entire world calling him King James before he even won a title. So he claims to be, above everything else. He told everyone he was going to win all these rings. He wants you to call him King James. He's got to live up to it. It's not just their little Miami Heat thing they put on to it to make the announcement. It was in a lot of his actions. When they lost to the Mavs, and fans were talking trash to him, he couldn't take it, and he was like, those comments he made about whatever, you still got to go home to your horrible life, I'm cashing checks or whatever. He puts himself out there like that. So if you present yourself as I'm the greatest, you're not, you got to be the greatest.
But Chante, haven't we all made mistakes? I mean, Phife, haven't we all made mistakes? Phife, he goes out. Look what she goes back and says. He responds negatively to the fans.
He was also on the cover of a magazine. He was also on the cover of a magazine when he won a ring, like, look at me, snitches. Come on, just sit down. Phife, just be humble.
Phife, this is what I'm just trying to understand. Here's the thing that I've struggled with more than ever. You go and make a decision, okay? Maybe that was a bad move. He makes a decision, all that stuff. But why was there so much hate because he chose to go to the Miami Heat and leave the Cleveland Cavaliers? You would think everybody in the world that jumped on this bandwagon and hate this young man was a Cavalier fan. And it became something where, let's look at what he's done. Nobody never talks about the fact is how he has this school in place and all the things he does from a child.
We're talking about basketball, Gerald. We're talking about basketball.
I'm saying the overall makeup. You can't knock the fact is that, look, I asked Charles Oakley today. Oak said he's better than Magic and Bird now. He don't have to win another ring. Your eyeballs can tell you he can play. He's an exceptional passer.
Charles Oakley is old and he's delusional. Okay? This is a totally different league, and that's bogus right now. If Magic in his prime was playing in this league, he would eat. We wouldn't even be talking about LeBron James right now. That's ridiculous.
Chante.
I wasn't mad that he left Cleveland. I don't care about the Cavs. What irritated me was that I honestly felt like, okay, he can't hold the team and stay with the fans. He can't put the team on his back, and he won't ride for the fans in Cleveland, his hometown.
He gave him 7 years.
Okay, look. Wait until you get there. Wait until you're the best player in the world. Wait until you win. I mean, that's pretty much how they used to do it back in the day. I just felt like he didn't want to be the center of attention in Cleveland. He wanted to go down and join Dwayne Wade's team, take some pressure off himself. And now he's got Dwayne Wade and Bosh that can take some of the pressure off. It ain't all on LeBron no more. I just felt like he took the easy way out.
Honestly, I think the pressure has been on him, though. I mean, that's what I think he thought was going to be the case when he went over there. He had all that help. But Chris Bosh is hit and miss sometimes, and D. Wade hasn't been healthy for the longest. So I feel like right now, as we speak, at least when D. Wade is not 100%, LeBron has to do too much in order to carry the Heat right now. So I give him his props. He made a mistake, but like I said earlier, he got to make up for it. So I need to see 5 titles before they start talking this MJ and this Magic. I compare him to Bird because the statistics are pretty much on point with them two. It's pretty much the same. Now, if he gets that 3rd ring and then that 4th ring, then we have to move Bird to the back just a little bit. Just a little bit. Because Bird was a beast. Bird was nowhere near the mammal that LeBron is, you know what I'm saying? But his IQ, his basketball IQ was major, and so was LeBron's. Now, he needs that 4th title before I put him ahead of Bird. And he has a chance to get at least number 3 right now.
Here on the Bottom Line Sports Show, Phife Dawg, Gerald Brown, Chante Cheeks, upcoming Derek Anderson, Mike Basone, Chantelle Anderson. Now, I got to ask you this. I want to ask both of you this. And Phife, I'll ask you first. You're a solo artist. You have somebody that gives you a beat, right? You get ready to make a single. Let's say you're gonna make a single. You get a beat. If you don't like the beat, you're going to go seek out another producer, get some other beats, right? That's how it pretty much works, right? Mm-hmm. So when LeBron decided to basically go leave Cleveland. First and foremost, we always use Magic and Bird as the examples of, oh, they're staying with teams. Well, think about it this way. They had teams that were flooded with talented players. You can't name the last NBA player, okay, to take a team besides LeBron. He took that Cleveland team to the NBA Finals by himself. Second of all, is being the named guy on it. And then second of all, let's look at it this way. Between you, Chante, and myself, Magic nor Bird could guard us, okay? They couldn't guard themselves. No. So when we look at the eyeball
test. Well, because I'm a beast.
Okay, well, I'm saying, we give the eyeball test. If you do the eyeball test, does the eyeball test tell you, from a defensive standpoint, was Magic Johnson able to guard people on the defensive side of the ball? No. Was Larry Bird able to guard people on the side of the ball? No. So the thing is, what we have seen is a new improved version in this generation era of what guys used to be able to do. And that's the thing, it's all about passing the torch. And I think people have such a strong disdain of being able to say it's okay for those guys to say they were good and somebody comes along better. That's great. And it happens to be LeBron James, regardless if he has to win any more championships. Because keep in mind, those are team awards. Team awards shouldn't always define how talented or how great you are.
It's okay to pass the torch. It has to be passed. Somebody else will get it from LeBron, and I can respect that. He's got the torch right now. Now, my only time when I get offended is if people are comparing him, he's the best to ever play, like he's better than MJ, because to me, MJ was basketball. He's like the Bruce Lee of basketball. It doesn't matter what kind of martial artist comes along from today on, Bruce Lee is that dude for martial arts. And that's how MJ is for me in basketball. So I don't like that comparison. I don't like him being in the same sentence as a Michael Jordan. You're LeBron James. You now have the torch. That I can respect.
Well, let me ask you this, though, Chante, here on the Pop My Sports Show. Did you feel comfortable when people made reference to Kobe Bryant being Michael Jordan? He would be the next Michael Jordan. Did you feel comfortable with that? Keep it 100.
No, you know I'm the biggest Kobe fan. Nobody is in front of MJ. Now, after MJ, I'm going to put Kobe number 2. But nobody goes in front of MJ.
Okay. Well, again, we have the NBA Finals kicking off tomorrow. Good move or bad move that the NBA Finals was pushed back, Chante, until Thursday. You know, you had a lot of the series wrap up Saturday and Sunday. Good move or bad move that they didn't try to move it up in order to really just be in a situation to get it going?
I kind of like it because both teams are rested now. We're going to get the best of both teams. It gave Tony Parker, you know I'm rooting for the Spurs, gave Tony Parker a little extra time to get healed and be ready for game 1. But I just like that it makes it sort of more on an even keel where, you know, everybody gets rest that they need.
Yeah. Hey, Phife, after the Spurs really took care of business and sent the Oklahoma City Thunder on vacation, you had Tim Duncan in the media, the post-game press conference, say, quote, they will get it done. They were looking for the Miami Heat. Surprised that he made those comments, and really, could you look at those comments as really, in a sense, making this series a little bit more than it really is?
Type of individual. Tim Duncan has been very reserved, laid back, quiet, but I feel him because he's hurt from the championship being right here in his grasp, and then Jesus Shuttlesworth came to the rescue, saved the day, and it basically snatched their hearts out. Hence the reason why Miami was able to win it in Game 7. I'm glad he said it, and I don't think it adds to the series because the series last year was great. Full 7 games. I'm hoping it goes to full 7 games again this year. I don't think anybody needed any more emphasis on how great this series is going to be or anything like that. So I'm actually glad he said it.
Yeah. You know? Now, Chante, we have a situation where Tony Parker hurt his ankle. It was a situation again with the leg and the ankle. He missed the second half of that OKC Game 6. Last year, the tables were turned with Dwayne Wade really being gimpy, dealing with the knee issues. Could this be a slight advantage for the Miami Heat because they have a healthy Dwayne Wade as opposed to a sort of gimpy Tony Parker, who really will be tested and is really looked upon to provide a lot of this sort of offensive punch for that team? Could this give Miami a sort of slight advantage?
It could give them a slight advantage because we need Tony Parker to go at this team like he did the Trailblazers and like he did OKC. So we needed him to come out strong. I don't know if we can, for sure say until we see him in game one, but, D-Wade was hurt last year, but Manu Ginobili was messed up last year for the Spurs, and he's healthy now. So I'm hoping that everybody's good and we really get the best, 7 games that we can see.
Yeah.
I'm hoping no one plays injured.
Was this the best matchup, Phife, in terms of what you wanted to see in the NBA Finals? Was this the matchup you looked and said, okay, if you had these 4 teams with the Pacers and Heat, Thunder and Spurs, this was the 2 best teams that you would say, I'm going to watch these games from start to finish, 1-7. These are the 2 best teams? Or is this a situation where you have perhaps 2 teams that really just took advantage of not being really challenged that much, if you will, with the exception of maybe the Spurs in the first round against the Dallas Mavericks and nothing after that?
The Spurs are just that great. Greg Popovich is that dude. And yes, this is the series that I wanted to see out of the 4 teams. Indiana, they were going on a roller coaster of emotions. OKC just doesn't have that bench. And I'm not rooting for no roster with Kendrick Perkins on it. I'm sorry. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, San Antonio, Miami, being that the series was so great last year, that's definitely what I wanted to see. Now, who I predicted at the beginning of the season, I thought it was going to be the Clippers and the Heat in the final. That was my prediction. But, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I actually wanted to see perhaps the Clippers in there. I thought that they had a great opportunity, especially with Doc Rivers coming in there and making them become a sort of a team that was focused on the defensive side of the ball. Chante, we're going to have a matchup where you have Duncan, you have Tiago Splitter. We already know coming off the Heat and Pacers series where Roy Hibbert really wasn't the sort of guy, the monster in the middle that he was last year's conference finals. Now you have Greg Oden there. This is what Greg Oden was supposedly brought in for. You didn't see him that much during the course of the season. He was really been in a situation brought along nice and easily. Is there any chance that you bring him along now? And is there possibly now that they crack the glass now and sort of put him on display in this series? And can they get by without using his size?
Using him makes me nervous for Miami. They did play him in that last game against Indiana, right? Did they play him a lot of minutes?
Yeah, they played him a lot, but, again, it was a blowout, but still
right.
We didn't see him for the 4 games or so, 4 or 5 games after that.
That just makes me nervous for them because I don't like throwing in a player who hasn't really played with the team and the team aspect in a championship game like that. I think it's a disadvantage if they throw Greg Oden in there, so, I hope they do.
Yeah. It's the Bottom Line Sports Show. Gerald Brown, Phife Dog, Chante Cheeks. Great show on tap. NBA Finals, they get going tomorrow night. It should be outstanding. Phife, you got Eric Spoelstra, a coach that's really under the radar. Greg Popovich, it speaks for itself in terms of what he's been able to do at the helm for the San Antonio Spurs. Who has the advantage in this series? Which coach?
Normally, I would say Greg Popovich because I truly believe that experience is the best teacher. But Spoelstra's going into his 4th final, so I don't know if either one of them have an advantage. Like we've been saying, it's going to go to full 7 like last year. And I think whoever has the healthiest team, the healthiest lineup, will have the advantage. So if Tony Parker is healthy, like I hope he is, I'll give it to Popovich. If not, Spoelstra's running away with this title, family.
Yeah. Chante, Spoelstra, Popovich really impressed me in terms of being able to make adjustments. And I thought the key adjustment was Game 5. Serge Ibaka came back after Game 2, gave them the momentum shift. They won the next 2 games. Oklahoma City did. In Oklahoma City, they go back to San Antonio, get off to a good start. But I thought the key adjustment that Popovich made, which was starting Boris Diaw, Matt Bonner, and putting them in situations where you forced a guy like Ibaka to move away from the basket, thus making him sort of not ineffective around the basket. Those type of moves right there. Do you have a situation where you have perhaps Spoelstra and Popovich? Are they even, or which one do you think has the edge?
I gotta give Coach Pop an edge. I mean, he reads the game so well. His adjustments and time management of his players is, I mean, crazy good. I mean, he's been here. He's been here more than Eric has. He's been with his team longer than he has. He's had the same players forever. So I think this is just more in his comfort zone. I think he probably watched game film from last season over and over again, and I don't think he's willing to get beat a second time.
Yeah, and keep in mind in that series, I thought that he made a crucial mistake, and even he went back and acknowledged it in terms of sticking with Danny Green over Manu Ginobili, and thus they had that crucial meltdown and stuff. But I mean, again, in some regards, you might have to say that he was outcoached by a guy like Eric Spoelstra. Danny Green, or Manu Ginobili. Chante, which one is better in the starting lineup for the San Antonio Spurs?
I think Danny Green is so inconsistent. He's great, but I don't think you can rely on him every night. I got to give it to Manu. He's got to be in the starting lineup if they're going to win.
Yeah. Phife, give me a guy that's an X factor that you feel they'll be in this series. For the Spurs first and foremost, and then the Heat. Give me a guy that you sort of, in a sense, will be an X factor besides the sort of top names that we're accustomed to.
I think Kawhi Leonard is a factor, definitely, because defense, in my estimation, still wins championships. So I'd say Kawhi Leonard, because nobody on the Spurs can stop LeBron James. However, because of his length, his size, his build, his speed, or what have you, the way he moves his feet on defense, so forth and so on, I have to say Kawhi Leonard. As far as the Heat, Chris Bosh got to come to play. Chris Bosh got to come to play. And as far as somebody that none of us are really thinking about right now, Rashard Lewis. That's going to be huge for Miami.
Yeah. That should be really interesting. And Chante, you know what? We've seen guys like in that series what they said about Boris Diaw playing a big role for the Spurs, Matt Bonner. We've seen guys during the course of the season, Patty Mills. It's clearly evident that Greg Popovich doesn't have any problem whatsoever putting his guys in there and utilizing that bench and playing a lot of the guys. But now it's for all the marbles. And we saw last year in the series, at certain points in time, Danny Green faded away and seemed like the spotlight got too big. Who are your two guys that you can sit back and say that you will feel will be the X factor for both the Heat as well as the Miami, for the Spurs, as well as the Miami Heat?
For the Spurs, I really think they have to get pretty much the whole team has to be factored in there because they have a great bench. Kawhi Leonard, though, I totally agree with Phife. He's got to be a star. If he's on, I think the Spurs will play great. I also like Bellinelli when he's on. He can hit some big time shots for the Spurs. For Miami, I totally was gonna say Rashard Lewis. I mean, in the last game he played in, he looked like a superstar. Before, I just thought he was robbing the league. He really played big time for Miami. I was surprised. So players like him and Ray Allen, when they need them, they're gonna be pretty big for Miami.
Yeah, I think that out of the big three, they will do what they need to do. And one of the things that we should have learned, if we haven't done so already, these playoffs should have shown us that each and every series, it's all about matchups. You saw a guy like Chris Bosh struggle in the Pacers series. Well, I mean, again, he hasn't played well against the Indiana Pacers going back to last year. Rashard Lewis really came in and played well. I'm going to say my guy that I would think that really has to give them something is a guy like Shane Battier. Because keep in mind, last year in the NBA Finals, Mike Miller played a big role and played a crucial role leading up to that Ray Allen 3 in the corner to save the series for the Miami Heat. But, obviously we know Mike Miller is no longer there. Shane Battier has to give them something, and it just be a question in terms of matchups. If they decide to go small, now you're going to have a situation that perhaps if a Rashard Lewis, can he be able to guard and defend a guy like Boris Diaw? Or if the Spurs decide to go big, you're going to have Rashard Lewis matched up against a guy like Tiago Splitter. So you look at the way the San Antonio Spurs operate on offense. Very rarely do they do anything to hurt themselves.
What about the matchup between Tony Parker and Norris Cole?
Well,
do you think Norris Cole can handle Tony Parker when he's already been through Lillard, he's been through Westbrook, and he pretty much dominated both those teams?
Well, it's a great point, and the key thing, I think it goes back to what I said before in the beginning. If, Tony Parker is gimpy, like trust and believe, they're going to challenge, they're going to test Tony Parker to see where he stands at as far as physically. And if he's able to showcase that, okay, Greg Popovich said that he's going to play, he's okay, well then, you know what, it's smooth sailing. You might have situations where you have LeBron switching over and guarding Tony Parker, and perhaps Dwayne Wade guarding, they would switch over and guard Kawhi Leonard or whatever. You'll see those different types of matchups. But if Tony Parker is not 100%, that could be a very interesting thing. And I don't know if San Antonio, we'll make our predictions a little bit later. I know, Chante, you might have to leave a little earlier and stuff. I know you have to leave, but get your predictions. But that'll be able to determine which direction this series goes. We all thought that this series, the Pacers and the Miami Heat, would go 7. But it really will depend on the health of a guy like Tony Parker. And Phife, to your point in asking you this, do you think the San Antonio Spurs take a step back if a guy like Patty Mills has to play a lot of time at the point? Or could we possibly see Popovich move a guy like Manu Ginobili over to the point guard position and play him a lot at the 1?
If that happens, I see Miami winning it in 6, to be honest. Tony Parker is the engine that makes them run, makes them go. And without him, it's going to be a problem. Yeah. Definitely. Because he's such a gnat. You know what I'm saying? Without him, and Patty Mills is good, but they're not Tony Parker. Tony Parker's been doing this since he was 19, and under the tutelage of Popovich, he's gotten better every single season. So without him in this championship series, it's going to be trouble and worries.
Yeah. Here at the Bottom Line Sports Show, Gerald Brown, he is Phife Dog. We also have Chante Cheeks. Also, upcoming, Derek Anderson, Chantelle Anderson, as well as the outstanding one, Mike Basone, filmmaker. You want to check out his stuff. So, one of the things is Tim Duncan wins his championship, Chante. He'll put him in a situation, I believe he'll have like 4 rings. If I'm not mistaken, he'll have 4 rings. Is this a guy that, once again, if you put up on that sort of what is the NBA? What do we call it?
5 rings.
Mount Rushmore.
5 rings. He has 5 rings. Does he get up on that Mount Rushmore, the NBA Mount Rushmore?
I think he does.
Like a guy like Magic or Bird.
I think he does. I think Bird's out of here. Tim Duncan has always been that guy. He might be on a lot of Mount Rushmores without this ring this year. So if he gets another ring, he can retire. He goes down obviously as one of the best, power forwards we ever saw.
Yeah. Phife, he'll have 5 rings. He's played a lot longer than Magic and Bird. And even when he was in his sort of tailspin with the knee injury, he still averaged a double-double. He's been a level of consistency from day one. Does he replace Magic and Bird as the guy? Does he take a spot down on that NBA Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, I think he'd replace Bird. Because he's on his 4th ring right now. If he wins 5. So, yeah, and not only is he the greatest power forward that I've ever seen play, but he also one of the greatest centers. So, 2 positions. He plays D. He doesn't miss layups except for last year in the finals. That one time. If he didn't miss that,
if he didn't miss that, they win.
You know what I'm saying? Word. So, yeah, he replaces Bird on Mount Rushmore right now.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little argument about that, and I was prepared for this. You have to look at what he's done. It's been again the run that the San Antonio Spurs, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit later. Derek is getting ready to come on momentarily, and you talk about the success this team has had. Chante, this is an organization that you go back to. They draft a David Robinson, continue from a David Robinson, add talking about perhaps that you can make an argument for based upon the consistency level of success. They have to be one of the greatest NBA teams of franchises of all time. Agree or disagree?
Oh, absolutely, totally agree. From top to bottom, to their office, to on the court. I mean, probably it has to go one of the best in history for sure, without a doubt.
Yeah, Phife again. They turn around a guy like a guy like Tim Duncan, and bring in a guy like Manu Ginobili. You bring in a guy like Tony Parker. But the thing is, Tim Duncan set the tone, and it'll be in a situation where you follow it up, where you had guys like a mild mannered David Robinson, follow it up with a Tim Duncan. Hands down, you have to say that this organization the last 25 plus years. Agree or disagree?
I, I agree. I think it's the best front office that I've ever seen since I've been watching basketball. I mean, because even with the championship Bull teams, um, Mike didn't really get along with the big wigs of the Chicago Bulls, the Jerry Krauses and Reinsdorf and those guys, but you never hear those issues in San Antonio. And although we haven't seen them win back, very reminiscent of what the New England Patriots are to the NFL with Belichick. So you put Belichick along with Popovich, you put the Spurs along with the Patriots. Whether they win the championship or not, they're always a threat to win that championship. They're always right. And in a sports world where it's all about business and you can't really keep the same teams together like yesteryear, you got to give it to them, hands down.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. You think about it this way. You have a situation where this team, we were told to write them off last year. They get to the NBA Finals. They lose a tough way. They bounce back and try to play a very valiant effort in Game 7. But all they do is come back and win in the West. And as much as we know, the Eastern Conference is really the weakest in all of the NBA. This is an organization that in that Western Conference really, really sort of rode that wave to win 60-plus games. And the beauty of it, and the thing that's kind of surprising, and Chantelle asked you this, is Derek Ed works on his camera, is it surprising or not that they have not been able to, you don't see other coaches really utilizing their sort of star players like this, where Greg Popovich will play his guys, 1 from 15. Surprised that we don't see a lot of other coaches in the NBA. Now, granted, talent is totally different in the NBA, but surprised teams do not utilize their benches as much as San Antonio does.
Well, in order to utilize your benches, you have to have the right coaching team to get players to be able to, play at a certain level when you put them on the court. So I'm not surprised that other teams do this, because that's very hard to do. If you can get almost every guy on your bench to be able to consistently play well within your team to where you're not hurting and you're able to give your stars rest, that's almost impossible. So, I mean, it just speaks, it just additionally speaks to the Spurs organization, their coaching staff. Everybody is on point, because they can take, any player and make them what they need them to be on that team. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah. Let's go. Our first guest is up. A gentleman, he knows a thing or two about championships. He won one with the Miami Heat. He also played with the San Antonio Spurs, and great friend to the show, Derek Anderson, joins us. DA, welcome aboard, DA. We got Chante Cheeks. She's repping California, California IA, as it's hot out there. And you know what? Up in the north Agent Phife Dog joins us. DA, what's going on, man? How's everything going?
All is well, man. Just waiting on these finals. Ready to get it going.
I think it's up and get to playing yourself.
Nah, I ain't playing. I'm getting in shape just to stay alive. I don't want to have no heart attack at age 50.
How surprised were you, DA, at Tim Duncan's comments that they will get this thing done?
I'm very surprised. It's that's way out of Tim's character. I think he realizes his career is about to come to an end, and he wants to make a final push. And I guess his confidence is trying to motivate himself to finish it. I played with him, and that's not his character. So I think he meant it just to, let y'all know this is going to be his final run. That's what I think he meant by that.
I think he's still feeling the effects of that layup he missed last season in Game 6. So he's like, yeah, it's not going to happen again.
Yeah, and I think that's his attitude. He's trying to make up for it, and he shouldn't be thinking like that. You're not just going to come in somebody's and just beat somebody like that.
He's still having nightmares. DA, last year was the Miami Heat. Dwayne Wade, he had knee issues in the finals. This time it might be Tony Parker. How big of a problem will that be if Parker is not effective?
You know what I always said, if Parker was effective, I think he's the difference maker in every series. And I think the fact that these young guys now are starting to fill a role in, because Ginobili has to play the point guard position. And honestly, I think OKC always beats themselves. Like you said, they don't use their bench. They got dudes just shooting randomly. Scott Brooks, decent coach, but he's not the X's and O coach that gets the teams to win. So to me, I think it makes a difference. But I still think that San Antonio is just that much of a dominant team that they should win. But you can't. I mean, if everybody playing away, LeBron's got them shooting and hitting their jumpers, man, San Antonio might get beat 5 out of the first games, 5 games. It's just tough to say. Last year you looked at it and one team get blown out, and the next game the other team gets blown out. And I think that's what type of match this is. It could go either way, just depending.
What up, DA? What's good?
What up, Art?
So, Mike Miller was huge in the finals last year with big shot after big shot for the Heat. Who do you think must step up from the bench to play that role in this finals?
I really think it's not even going to be the bench this year. I think it's going to be the stars. If the stars don't come to play and start up, they're going to get blown out. And the bench ain't nobody on the bench going to come in and give you 20, 25 to save the team. I think Ray Allen still get to hit them open shots, but Mike Miller played minutes. He didn't just come and play, 10, 12 minutes and hit some big shots. He was actually playing, diving on the floor. You know what I'm saying? He played like starter minutes. So I think the difference this year is you got to get your starters to play from start to finish, man. Bosh can't go 2 for 10 and expect to get a second half, another chance to score like last year.
Absolutely.
I think these starters going to have to really ball out to beat this team, man. Because San Antonio don't give you a chance to come back like that.
Right.
It's interesting here on the Bottom Line Sports Show. Gerald Brown, Phife Dog, Chante Cheeks, the outstanding one, Mr. Derek Anderson. Now, DA, if you look at the situation, gut feeling, if the Spurs win it all, do you think both Duncan and Popovich ride off to a sunset and call it a career?
I think they should, man. They've done a tremendous job. And you were saying about the front office, I agree with you. I just think early when R.C. Buford was figuring it out, he told me he was going to give me 4 years, 28. San Antonio said they give me 6 years, 48. And so he goes to the paper and says, well, we offered him more after the deal. Like, it's too late. So I think he did that with Steven Jackson. Remember how he's getting rid of us and then Steve Smith?
Yeah.
You think of who he got rid of. He realized, you know what, I got to get guys that I can't, worry about if I'm going to make them happy or if I'm going to pay them or not. So he went with overseas guys. He said, I'm going to get guys who not going to be headstrong. He said, I'm going to get guys just to follow a system. And I think that's why he's been successful. And so to me, I think that Tim and Pop should retire that way. I think they deserve it. I talk to him all the time. Pop's a great dude, man, and Tim's a great dude. So there's no sense of messing up your legacy. Don't be with my idol, Muhammad Ali did. Stayed in there too long. Don't get beat up. Because next year, you think about everybody coming in. The Clippers are going to be better. Oklahoma, they probably get a new coach. They're going to be better. You don't want to play into a system where all of a sudden you're getting beat by everybody.
Right.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
DA, old man Odin. I'm surprised we even got to see him play a little bit. But is this a series where you think does Miami really put him into the rotation and let him play some minutes?
Nah, you gotta lay him where he's at, man. They gonna mess up the rotation. This dude, he's not been able to perform like they want him to. Don't throw that dude in there. I mean, it'd be good for a good boost if they needed some kind of boost, but they gotta rival who they got, man. You know, I hope this dude gets to play next year, but this year that rotation, he's not, especially against Tim Duncan. And they gonna foul this dude out so fast. You know what I mean? So you can't play against those smart dudes like that. I think you shouldn't put him in that situation. And next year they just got to play him more. You know, that's the only way he's gonna get better if he plays more.
So last but not least, who do you say wins it all, and in how many games?
I said if Tony Parker's totally healthy, I say them in 6, and if he's not healthy, I think Miami in 6. That's the difference maker. If he's able to get them 20 and 10, he'll put the pressure on them young dudes, and he'll keep us in foul trouble, keep us spread. Like them guys that really play well. But if not, I think we should beat them dudes, man. It's just because we got more talent, we got more position skill players, we got things that go in our favor, especially with LeBron making everybody else better. So that's the difference maker.
No doubt.
DA, we watching that in YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, but Facebook and Twitter. Again, the Stamina Camp. You're doing a lot of great things, and I've always said, anytime we've had you on the show, I applaud you for really your plight and your mission in terms of giving back and helping others and stuff.
Oh, there I
you have upcoming.
Oh, okay. Stamina Camp is basically we're teaching these kids life skills. We're going to teach them when they come into camp, they're going to have to write down chores that they do for their parents. You know, then when you come in, I'm giving you gift bags, I'm giving you wristbands, you know, shirts, shoes. I'm giving you stuff, but you got to earn it. You know, you got to teach your parents when you go home, you got to say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. When they pick you up, we're giving them chances to win gift cards to give to their parents. Parents are always paying for us to get stuff. You know, kids, all these shoes and cell phones, but what you doing for your parents? And then when these kids get older, they spoiled brats, and they always want gimme, gimme, gimme. Now, when you come to my camp, you got to work, and you're going to get stuff, and now you got to share it. You got to pay it forward. So for me, camp is not just about showing these kids to just come and play basketball and you get some money and they send them home. Nah, you're going to teach these parents some lessons too. When your kid comes home, when he tell him, he says yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, and he takes the trash out without you asking, you need to keep doing that as a parent. Don't keep kissing these, negotiating with these parents and telling them, well, kids complain. You got a cell phone and some Jordans. He's talking about my parents are mean. Man, get out of here. You better start disciplining yourself, and these kids need to start doing that. So my camp is life skills. We're there from 8:30 to 4. They're going to take trash out after they're done eating. They're going to say yes, sir. They give everybody 5. They pick each other up. They talk to each other. If I tell a kid to how you shoot your form, he goes and shows the next kid at camp. So now it's like you holding yourself accountable. It's like you and I on this show. If we're talking about something, we got to hold each other accountable because we just said it. So that's the same thing in my camp. You got to hold yourself accountable while you're saying it.
Good so Lord, can we get this camp nationwide, DA? What we got to do?
Well, this is my first one. I want to get it to where everyone's doing it the same way. It's everybody's positive. You know, it's going to be a nationwide camp because my movie comes out, Stamina. That's what's going to be a part. It's a workshop. Everywhere I go, it's a workshop. It's not about basketball. You know, this is about life. Man, these kids are so lost right now. That's why we talk about the NBA. These kids now, they think athleticism is it. And as soon as they done playing these one and dones, what do? Like, what's Greg Oden gonna do now if he don't make the NBA? 1 year of college, no degree, no trade. He's 7 feet. What's he gonna do? We just throwing our kids out there, man. And they getting lost, and it's our kids that's suffering. You know, these other kids got families who teaching them how to save money and educate themselves, but our kids aren't, and we need to do that more.
Yeah. DerekAndersonWorks.com. The camp is Stamina. DA, please fill in anything that I left out in terms of where people can find out information. The book Stamina is a must-read. You got to check it out, and it's a perfect segue because we have upcoming our next guest, an athlete that made that transition.
Right. Well, good. That's what we need. We need to promote that more too.
Oh, absolutely. That's why we have the Bottom Line Sports Show. That's why we do these types of things, because you know what?
I know that's right.
It's all about, it's not just about what you do on the basketball court or in your respective sports field. Fill in any blanks that
you hit it, man. Just support each other. We just got to support each other, man. Whatever you guys doing, I'm here to support. Whatever somebody's doing, let's support each other. And you don't have to be famous, man. You just got to be effective in life. Don't worry about trying to make all the money, this, and that, man. Don't try to be famous. Don't try to be somebody you're not. I ain't Michael Jordan. I'm Derek Anderson. I still make the same difference in saving somebody's life. So do what you can while you can and love each other, man. That's it.
Yeah, I saw you on the little documentary called Blackout. Had you playing up at 55th. You know, sometimes I forget you was up in there at Fife. He was stomping up there on 8th Avenue. You know what I'm saying? He was up there stomping down on 8th Avenue in Harlem, you know?
You can't walk with lines if you ain't ready to eat.
Hey, DA, really appreciate you, brother, as always, man. Thanks again for joining us. We'll talk to you real soon.
Always, man. Much love, y'all.
Absolutely. Derek Anderson. Great brother, man, and always a very positive person and moving forward and stuff. But I thought that he said something that was so outstanding in terms of, you know what, again, the course of life. And I know Chante's got to run before we bring on our next guest and stuff. Chante, give us your picks in terms of who's going to win it all. Fife, we'll give our picks toward the tail end of the show. Give us your picks, how many games, and who wins it all.
I got to go with the better team, the better coach. They win away games like nobody else. I gotta go with my man Timmy Duncan. Spurs in 6.
I see. I'm not surprised though. So that means you can root for the Miami Heat because you know what? That'd be really interesting. Hey Chante, always a pleasure. You gotta check out Chante also on Tinnick.com, the Tinnick podcast on Spreecast. What time, Chante?
Normally around 2 p.m., but I sort of float to my own boat, so sometimes it'll change. But 2 p.m. Fridays, Pacific time, 1010inc.com. Check it out.
Now, Chante, next week you got to be ready to spit a little quick day for Fife. She got out of there before she could do it, so I was gonna put her on the spot and see if she could do it. Let's go to our next guest, Chantelle. Chantelle, is she there? She's there, Chantelle. She finally figured it out, and I'm really happy. Chantelle Anderson does a great job, and again, she wears so many hats. I would say that, but before we leave, but Chantelle, great to have you on, dog. Again, legendary rap extraordinaire, Tribe Called Quest, joining us here tonight on the Bottom Line Sports Show. Chantelle, how are you? You gotta turn your mic on, Chantelle. Help you, Chantelle. Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on, sweetie. We gotta get your mic on now. Come on, get your mic on. Come on.
There we go. Can you hear me?
There you go. There you go.
Yay!
There you go. There you go. I knew you could do it. I have faith in you. I have faith in you. Thanks again for joining us, Chantelle. I want to ask you. First and foremost, again, you look at everything. Is this the best finals matchup we could have gotten this for this year? I mean, you know, Fife I talked about earlier in the year. We talked about the Los Angeles Clippers, San Antonio Spurs. Clearly, right. They were the class of the Western Conference. Was this the best matchup we could have gotten?
Yeah, well, you know, as a Spurs fan, I mean, I'm super excited about this matchup because, I mean, I think the Miami Heat stole one from us last year. So I think that you have the two best teams in the NBA. I mean, the Miami Heat, they're an amazing team. I mean, they have such superstars, such great stars. I mean, LeBron James is above and beyond one of the best players in the NBA, if not the best player in the NBA. So I think that, you know, you have the Miami Heat. And then the San Antonio Spurs, they're just, I mean, you want to learn how to play basketball, you watch the Spurs because they just play beautiful basketball, beautiful team basketball all the time. Coach Pop, I respect him so much. I love the fact that he coaches his superstars just like his bench players. I definitely think it's the best finals matchup we could have gotten.
Yes. I think a lot of people would agree.
Yeah, definitely.
How you doing, Miss Chantelle?
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. As a former professional basketball player, how would you take it if the leader of your team made the comments Tim Duncan did in saying that the Spurs will get it done this time?
Man, that would have fired me up, because I mean, you have your leader, someone that comes to practice every single day, kills it. I mean, he's obviously he's getting older, but he is taking care of his body, he's taking care of his game, he's in great shape, and he leads that team. So as somebody, when your leader says that, you want to have their back. Like, you're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that he is proved right and not proven wrong. So, I mean, that would have fired me up. I was like, yeah, all right, let's go, you know? I mean, it's already the NBA Finals. You're hyped as it is, but that would have made me even more excited to go out there and play for my leader.
Right.
Definitely.
Now, Chantelle, you know, we just had Derek much finishing up with you, him, get ready for you. And Derek made a great point in terms of things, in terms of teaching, you know, young players and young people, and really understanding more to life of basketball. And you know, you and I had talked before the interview this evening in terms of just, I found it fascinating how you're making the transition, going from playing college basketball, achieving your goal and playing in the WNBA, playing professionally, then going to coaching at the ACC at Virginia Tech, to now making the transition to corporate America. How important was it for you, more than ever, to really make sure that basketball didn't just define you as a person?
Right, and I think that's a great question. I mean, dang, you said my resume like that. That makes me sound real old.
No, it doesn't. Experience. Experience. Don't look at it like that. You've been blessed. You've done a lot of things that many of us haven't done yet.
No, I'm definitely grateful for everything that I've had the opportunity to do. I liked a lot of what Derek was saying about the life skills and teaching kids that it's more to life than sports. One thing he said that stuck with me was that you don't have to be famous, you just have to be effective. And I think that is so true. Like, these kids need real role models that are going to teach them how to get through life effectively, efficiently, successfully, and we have to make sure that we're doing that. So I loved what he said. For me, it was always really important for me to be known as more than an athlete. I think that today's athletes have a huge advantage, which was coming on, you know, at the end of my career, but I still got to kind of ride the wave a little bit. And that's social media, because now these athletes have such a platform, and what they can do is they can start branching out and establishing their brand while people still care what they say. You know, care what they say, care what they think, care who they are, you know? And so as an athlete, you want to use that to let people know, hey, I am more about my sport, more than my sport. I am, you know, about fashion, or about, you know, whatever content you want to showcase. So I think that's a great opportunity. For me, I've just been so blessed as far as going from playing to coaching. I think I got into coaching because I didn't know what else to do, you know? I think a lot of athletes do that because you're like, okay, let me go coach because that's all I know. Right. But jumping into corporate America, I think we have to tell people that there are other jobs out there that really value athletes and value the things that we learn as athletes, because we have so many skills that are transferable skills that if we apply what we learn in sports to those jobs outside of sports, then we can be very successful at it. And companies realize that. What we're not told is that companies realize that, and they're looking for that. So I don't know, that was really encouraging to me as I was trying to transition out.
That is huge, because a lot of the times, you know, it takes an athlete, you know, what's the old adage, the athlete dies of two deaths. They have two deaths, you know, it's a super death. And it's really trying to figure out where you fit in after, you know, the playing career is over. So I applaud you and I salute you. And listen, you got out of the coaching game before any of those girls and young ladies gave you gray hairs and stuff like that.
Man,
so
right?
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I loved, coaching the girls and mentoring them, but it's just like the lack of freedom. It's like no work-life balance. Work-life balance, what's that? So I'm definitely loving my life now as far as a job that I can still be very competitive at. I can still I have the freedom to have a life and plan my own schedule, but at the same time, it's very much like sports and me using the talents and the things that I learned from being an athlete. So for those that don't know, I do medical device sales. And so, just if you're an athlete watching this, like there are companies that value your skill set. And you have to be about your business. You have to learn, kind of the culture of those different industries and things like that. But if you can do that and your education was important to you before you went pro, then there are opportunities out there for you.
Tell me about callmemiss.net.
Call Me Miss. It's kind of my baby. It's my website. My name on all social media things is Miss Chantelle. I feel like Call Me Miss is kind of like an attitude, kind of like a mindset. When somebody calls you Miss, you feel young but not too young. Cute but not so cute that you could never be grown. You feel respected. But at the same time, it's just kind of an attitude like living your life and being successful, expecting more out of yourself. Just really female empowerment. I'm actually doing a Search My Heart journal challenge right now where I'm encouraging the ladies to journal. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Just my way to give back and kind of influence some of the young ladies in trying to find their own journey, their own path.
Right.
Well said.
Yeah, it's been fun. I love it.
We have more information about it.
Well, the website is callmemiss.net. So you can go check that out. There's always new posts up there. Also, I'm Miss Chantelle on every social media, on Twitter, on Instagram. Chantelle Anderson on Facebook. There's also a Call Me Miss Facebook page. So and check me out on any of those and you'll see it.
Now we're gonna put you under the spotlight, okay? You ready, Chantelle? We're gonna put you under.
Yeah.
You ready?
Sure.
Who wins the NBA Finals and how many games?
Well, you already know I'm cheering for the Spurs. But I'm not only cheering for them, I really do think they're going to win. They're the best team. It's their time. I say in 6. I'm going with Spurs in 6.
Ooh. Spurs in 6. I mean,
dang, dude,
respect that.
No!
You know what? At this point, it's going to be really historic on both ends, whoever wins. If the Spurs win, Duncan gets his 5th ring, Popovich, again, moves into some either more elite company in terms of coaching greats. And then if LeBron James and them, you're talking about a 3-peat and for them to go for the 4-peat next year. So it's really interesting. Chantelle, as always, I really appreciate you giving your time to come on the show. It's always great to talk with you. We got to do this again.
I appreciate you having me. This is an awesome show. So thank you for your time.
Always, and we got to do this again.
Definitely, anytime.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gerald.
All right. You got to make sure you check it out. Callmemiss.net. Again, unbelievable, talented. So, Phife, it just seems like it's all the way across the board as we wait for Mike Basone. Mike, you got to get on with us. We can't hear you. As we get ready for the NBA Finals to start up tomorrow and stuff. But, Phife, when you look at great teams, you look at great teams, we haven't seen a great Knicks team. And Phife, you claim you basically claim the Knicks. Through this struggle, you still claim the Knicks, okay? I respect Well, Phife, our next guest is a gentleman, a young man who wrote an unbelievable. He did a short film documentary about the Knicks fans protest called "The Knicks Fans for Life," and really highlighted a lot of the struggles that has gone on with the Knicks recently. And I thought it was so telling and so moving. Thought it was really great to really have him on. Put your hands together for Mike Basone joining us right now.
How you doing, guys?
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you. We can hear you great. We can hear you great. Thanks again for joining us, Mike. I want to switch gears because we've been focusing a lot on the NBA Finals, and clearly we know unfortunately, the New York Knickerbockers are not in the NBA Finals unless they're covering it. But still in all, as a Knicks fan, talk about how difficult it is to see the Miami Heat in the Finals for the 4th straight year, led by a guy in LeBron James that many Knicks fans were led to believe would be a Knick, and also former Knicks head coach Pat Riley.
It's very difficult because, back in '95, whatever it was, we should be Miami right now. We should have Pat Riley as our leading man. And now, hopefully we're righting some wrongs by hiring Phil Jackson. Hopefully he's going to, be that closer that we need in those big pitch meetings to a guy like LeBron James. Missing out on LeBron James hurt a lot of Knicks fans. It hurt me deeply. It's tough to see him down in Miami with those fans. They're, four straight finals appearances, now could win 3 in a row. That could have been us. And it would have been something if he was in New York City. LeBron James is huge. But could you imagine if he was the guy in New York? It would have been an amazing thing to watch.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think everybody.
Definitely.
Yeah, talk to me about how the short film, the Knicks fan film, came together.
Well, me, like a lot of Knicks fans out there, I was frustrated. I saw the protest. My father was actually the one who sent me the article about the protest, and I wanted to just go down there, document it. I thought that I could help get their voice out there by using my voice, which is as a filmmaker, and give a shout out to my good friend Evan Deary, who did the animation on the piece. I think it gives the fans a lot of hope, and eases some of our frustration a little bit on James Dolan.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of frustration. Filmmaker Mike Basone joining us here on the Bottom Line Sports Show. Gerald Brown, Phife Dog. If anything, what was the important message that you want to get across to the Knicks, to get across in the Knicks fan for life? What was the message that you sought out to make sure that first and foremost every fan got an opportunity when they saw this, they got the message? What was it?
Well, I think there was probably 2 big messages, but one being James Dolan, please stay out of Phil Jackson's way. I think the fans believe in Phil Jackson. They think he's going to do good, but James Dolan has to stay out of his way, and that was the real thing that they were, not protesting, but warning James Dolan. We're upset. We want a winner in this city, but we don't like you meddling all the time. So I think that was the big thing. And it's also that, we the fans, we don't have a real voice. And, these people, they wanted to get out there and they wanted to make sure that, the owners and everybody remember that we're the ones that are, paying for the seats. We're the ones buying the jerseys. We're the ones who, the owners in the NBA make their money off of. And we do have a voice and we need to be heard.
Well, how therapeutic would you say Knicks fan for life will be for all Knicks fans?
Well, I think it's very therapeutic for me. Me
too.
I thought it was very therapeutic for myself. When I saw my friend Evan, I came up with the idea of kicking James Dolan, but when I saw that kick come to life in animation, that was very therapeutic to me, and I think it'll be very therapeutic to all Knicks fans seeing that animation, venting and just telling them how it is.
True.
It's a very, very interesting short film, and it really touches on a lot of things. And Mike, we talked about this before. We did an interview this past weekend. You know, the Knicks, the Rangers are back in the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since 1990. Here you have the Knicks doing battle in the NBA Finals against the Houston Rockets. Will the Rangers' success force Knicks fans to be less patient with Phil Jackson if the Rangers end up winning the Stanley Cup?
I don't think it'll force them. Not immediately, I don't think. But, you know, and I said it on the show on Saturday, I think the big lesson here, and, you know, it's funny. If you read in the news lately or yesterday, since, you know, the Rangers are now in the finals and Dolan has come out and did a couple interviews, he's actually mentioning that he's staying out of Phil's way. So, you know, I don't know if the video had anything to do with that. But I think that's the main thing. James Dolan, learn from what you do with the Rangers. He stays out of the Rangers' way. Hopefully he's going to stay out of Phil Jackson's way and the Knicks management's way and let them do their job. And maybe we'll be as lucky as the Rangers and be able to get to a finals and maybe win one.
So wishful thinking, I mean, but I'm a bit positive.
It's wishful thinking, definitely, and let's always be positive, Gerald.
Yep. Could we see a sequel to the Knicks Fan for Life? And who do you winning it all this year?
What was that? I'm sorry, bud.
Can we see will we be able to see a sequel to the Knicks Fan for Life? And who do you have winning it all this year?
Well, for the love of God, I hope there's not a sequel to Knicks Fan for Life. If it is, I hope it's us, you know, carrying a trophy around. I don't want to be kicking James Dolan, you know, to the moon or something next time. I don't want that. But, you know, in terms of the finals, I think, you know, your past guest said it as well. I think it comes down to Tony Parker, if he's healthy or not. The Spurs might have a shot at winning this thing, but it's very tough for me to pick against LeBron. You know, he's the best player in the world. He's an unbelievable talent, and, you know, I think he's got it 3 years in a row, so we'll see what happens.
Right.
Hey, Mike, before we let you get on out of here, let everybody know where they can check out everything you have coming up and really keep abreast on a lot of the projects.
Yeah, you could go to Vimeo to check out my film. Yeah, you go to Vimeo to check out my film. You can just type in Knicks Fan for Life or Mike Basone. It'll pop up. You can also you can follow me on Twitter at Mike Basone. That's Basone. And then you can also follow us on Facebook at Basone Entertainment on Facebook.
Well said. Mike, it's always a pleasure. Really appreciate you. And as I said before, great job. And you know what? It's just the beginning, my friend.
All right, bud. I appreciate it, guys. You have a nice night.
Always a pleasure. Mike Basone.
All right.
Knicks Fan for Life. You got to check it out. It's outstanding. It's something you definitely want to check out. Now, Phife, you know, we came on, we got going, we started talking the whole notion about the LeBron James stuff, and I want to take this time before we, you know, put the cap on tonight's show to let everybody know a little bit more about you in terms of your teams that you're rooting for, the teams that you can't stand, and before that, we get your picks as well as leading into the action. So, again, we got a little clock. We'll put a little clock on.
All right.
And tell us favorite college team. Let's see how much we can have in common, because if not, we're going to be going at it so much, and I'm going to be sitting up there saying, Phife, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about this. Favorite college team?
I mean, college basketball, correct?
College basketball, that's correct.
I mean, being from Queens, I want to see St. John's do well. I have love for Syracuse. I have love for Kentucky, but first and foremost, over everything, since I was 10 years old, North Carolina Tar Heels all day.
Okay. Okay. You started scaring me because you was jumping around from Big East to SEC, ACC. So again, we understand that. Would it be the Mets?
Oh man, Bronx Bombers all day. I'm from Queens.
Okay.
I'm from Queens. But ever since Reggie Jackson, you know, he was in Oakland, spent that 1 year in Baltimore, and then George Steinbrenner broke that wallet out, and he came to the Yankees. Before that, I was all about Pete Rose and Johnny Bench and that whole Cincinnati Red squad. But ever since Reggie Jackson became a Yankee, that's who I rock with ever since.
Okay. So you just told right now that, as you can see, Phife is not only just basketball, he's a sports connoisseur. Favorite NFL team?
In the NFC, the Jets. I mean, in the NFC.
Five.
I'm sorry. In the NFC,
give us one
Philadelphia.
team, Phife.
Huh?
You gotta give us one team, fam. Come on.
Well, let me break it down to you. In the NFC, I rock with Philly. In the AFC, I rock with the Jets. If they ever were to meet in the Super Bowl, which is very far-fetched, I'm rocking with Gang Green all day. New York to the death.
Okay.
So I'm a Jets dude.
You Jets. Okay. Okay. College football team.
Buckeyes, the Ohio State University.
Okay. Okay. A lot of history there. Championships. Basketball.
New York Knickerbockers.
Okay. Okay, we covered all the major sports with the exception of hockey. I mean, you're a New Yorker, so you got to be rooting either for the Islanders or the Rangers.
You know what? I'll go with the Rangers. You know what I mean? But when it comes to hockey, I really just like the different logos and the jackets and stuff like that, the jerseys. So my favorite logo in hockey is the Blackhawks. But the Rangers, I'll go with the Rangers.
Okay.
As you can see,
one player. I see that. And versatility. I see it.
No doubt,
versatility. Is there one player from whatever sport, football, baseball, basketball, college or pro, what one player that you would spend some money to pay a ticket to go watch and would be able to watch, if you could watch him front row down on court side, who would that one player be? And from what sport?
Oh boy, I have to say that's playing right now or historically?
Let's say right now.
I'll pay to see Chris Paul. I ain't gonna lie.
You pay to see Chris? That's not a bad choice. I forgot to ask you. Boxing?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going with? Boxing? Who's that fighter? I mean, it ain't that much out there. I mean, we say Money Mayweather?
Yeah, I'll say Money Mayweather, but I need him to fight Pacquiao. Like seriously, I don't need him fighting T.I. Come on, man, stop playing. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up, chill with all that, B. Like, I mean, wow. But I definitely want to see him fight Pacquiao. But he's my favorite fighter right now. Now, all-time favorite fighter, I'd have to say Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali.
Very good decision.
Can't front on Winky Wright. He had his moments. Roy Jones had his moments, and then my man Bernard Hopkins was nice too.
He's still having his moment. Well, let me give you a couple of my favorite college football team is Florida State Seminoles, and I'm not just saying because they're national champs. I'm still a little on the fence. I'm just really a basketball fan because I was a Knicks fan working as a Knicks ball boy. I fell in love with the Sacramento Kings. They haven't been the same, so I'm a fan of the good basketball. College basketball, Louisville Cardinals.
All right.
NFL.
So with that, hold on. With that being said, where you think Russ Smith is going? Where would you like to see him?
Phife, I don't know, man. I'm on the fence because his game is a very unique one, but it has to be the right fit.
Right.
I look at him as another version of Leandro Barbosa. You know, very aggressive, but can he work in a system? It has to be a system down the court. Perhaps if Nate Robinson wasn't in different, maybe that situation where they play an up-tempo style of play, it'd be interesting to see him out there. I definitely want him to have that opportunity. But it has to be, it's not a big selection. It's almost the equivalent of perhaps a guy like Tim Tebow or so. You know, it's only a certain limited amount of places he could go that he would have a strong impact. So my NFL team, unlike you, I'm not jumping all around. I'm not AFC, NFC. No, it's only one team. Buccaneers with the Lovie Smith. Yes, I'm going Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As you can see, I got this stuff here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, they gave me an opportunity to see a coach that looked like me, and that was the great Tony Dungy. And I was already happy with it. And boxer, I'm going to say Floyd Mayweather. I'm going to say Floyd Mayweather. You want to see some good fights? And, you know, just pretty much that. But you know what? You're definitely looking forward as we get ready to get closer and closer to the NBA draft. We're going to be having some guys coming to fight. Before we put a cap on the show, we got the last 10 minutes of the show. And don't forget, this is every Wednesday night right here on my sports show. Phife Dog Duo. You know, looking at some of the greatest teams of NBA teams of all time. Now, you know, we're looking at potential, as I said earlier, the San Antonio's different elite. They're going to 4 straight NBA finals. If they win their third, and now they'll go ahead. But you look, 83 Philadelphia 76ers led Julius Erving, Moses Malone, Maurice Cheeks. They went 65-17. Fight. Malone predicted the ever-present 4-5-4. He picked the 4-4-4 with the sweep of the Los Angeles Lakers. Where would you rank them in terms of greatest teams of all time?
Where would I rank the 2 teams playing in this year's finals?
No. The greatest teams of NBA.
I rank the Sixers.
NBA teams of all time. Yeah, where Sixers team with Doc and them?
I'd put them like 3rd on my list out of 5, maybe.
Okay.
Out of 5, I'd rank them like 3rd on my list.
Okay, well, I got a couple other teams. Just want to know these things. Here on the Bottom Line Sports Show, Gerald Brown, Phife Dog, led by Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman. You know, were one of the most dominant defense of all time. They went 63-19, Phife, that season, sweeping the Celtics and Bucks in the first 2 rounds. And then they swept the Lakers in the finals as well, who at the time were 12-0 in the play. 19, the Isaiah Thomas with the documentary about the Bad Boys. One of the most overlooked, underrated champions, back-to-back champions of all time. Where would you rank the 1988-89 Detroit Pistons?
I rank them 2nd, definitely. Definitely, because they made me appreciate defense. And then Isaiah Thomas was like one of my favorite point guards growing up after Magic Johnson, you know what I mean? But even though his 81 Hoosiers beat my Tar Heels in the championship, I always loved his game because he had a heart of a lion and he wasn't no punk. He could play. He was a bad boy, for real.
Right. Well, I mean, again, that's synonymous as one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game. Let me ask you something. Does a great team have to win a championship in order to be considered a great team of all time?
Yes, absolutely.
So you look at the Dallas Mavericks, who a few years ago was actually that, again, they had a few years back, they went 67. I think they won 67 games, ended up losing in the playoffs. So we defined winning the championship, hoisting up the Larry O'Brien trophy.
I think so. I mean, I'm not gonna say teams that didn't hoist that trophy, like say the Knicks in '94. That was a pretty good team, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. Vince Lombardi quote, and I believe in it.
Yeah. Now, you Phife, we've had some great teams like the 95-96 Bulls team. They won 72 games in the regular season. Would you put them at sort of the top as the number 1 team? of all 86 Boston Celtics, who went 40-1 at home, led by Bird, Parrish, McHale, 11-1 in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs before defeating a young Hakeem Olajuwon, who was Hakeem Olajuwon back then, in the Rockets in 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
Those teams would you put up at the top?
You said Chicago that won 72 games, right?
Yeah, the Chicago team is 72 wins. You had the Celtics team that was 11-1 in the first 3 rounds of the NBA playoffs. They were 40-1 at home. And I'm gonna throw in another one for you. The 71-72 Lakers, led by Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, they won a 33. They went on to win 33 consecutive.
All of those teams.
And 5.
All of those teams are great, but I'd have to put the 72-win Chicago Bulls as my #1 team of all times. Reluctantly said, because I really want to say 87-88 Lakers, Showtime.
Okay.
That was my team, B. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing about them. But winning 72 games, that's incredible. That's crazy. And I don't think that's ever going to happen again, to be honest. So really? I have to give it to Chicago.
Yeah, I look at that, and I agree with you in terms of 72-10 is phenomenal. You look at the Celtics with their 40-1 record at home and 11-1 playoffs. The 71-72 Lakers and stuff. Again, very dominant. But you're right, to win 72 games and only lose 10 games for the entire regular season, that says a lot. There was no backing it in. There was none of that. And they were getting each and every single team's best shot every night, night in, night out. But you mentioned that Lakers team in the 87, was it 87-88 or 86-87? That Lakers team.
87-88, I believe.
87-88, that's synonymous with, again, that up-tempo Showtime. If you look at that team right there, could you look at that team and perhaps maybe say that it was the system that made a lot of those players great? Because the reason why I say that is you think about a situation where Magic Johnson really wasn't guarding point guards.
Right.
Guarding other point guards, you had James Worthy, a 6'9" small forward, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That team was able to do a lot of different things offensively, but more or less defensively, it hide a lot of flaws. Do you think it was more or less the system that a guy like Pat Riley had infused as opposed to the talent that made Showtime?
It's partly talent, because when you have 3 Hall of Famers like Magic, Worthy, and Kareem, how can you deny the talent? You know what I mean? But it's definitely a system, because Pat Riley, he saw that Kareem was getting a little bit older, so he pretty much asked Magic to be a little more selfish, and he ran with that. But then you got to think of players like Michael Cooper coming off the bench with that defense and being able to run the floor like a gazelle. Same thing with Byron Scott and Michael Thompson coming off the bench. And it's definitely the genius of Pat Riley and his system at the time. But you can't deny the talent that was there. He was blessed, but the players were even more blessed because of the system that was implemented by Pat.
Yeah, it's well said. LA has been at the center of all the sports and news in general. There was breaking news this evening, that Donald Sterling, the former Clippers owner, has decided that he will not follow through with any type of lawsuits and blocking the sale of the Los Angeles Clippers. Phife, how important is it just really to put this all to rest? And how surprised that the NBA, under Adam Silver's leadership, the new commissioner, was able to really have everything fall in place, and roughly before the NBA finals are over, that we could pretty much see this thing done with?
I thought Adam Silver did a very good job. I didn't think it was going to be hard, for the simple fact that Mr. Sterling is still walking away with all that money.
Yeah.
So he's really not hurting. I'm a little peeved at that. But as far as the brand that we all know and love by the 3 letters NBA. I'm glad we could put it to rest and get it out of the way. The timing was all awful. The timing was so wrong. You know what I mean? I wish this would have happened during the season versus during the playoffs, when the first round of the playoffs was one of the greatest playoff rounds we've ever seen in a long time. And for the Clipper players to have to go through that, I thought it was sad, you know what I mean? But I'm glad we could do away with it, get it passed on. I didn't understand why he was going to try and fight. He's delusional, he's out of his mind, and he's still walking away with mad money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just get it done and keep it moving, you know what I'm saying? But I thought Adam Silver definitely was there for the players, whereas I'm not going to say David Stern wasn't there for the players, but it was definitely different compared to the way Adam Silver put his foot down right away.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this question, Fife, before we move on and wrap up tonight's show. Do you think they need to change the name? If you're the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, would you make it a point to start thinking about how you can really thinking about changing the name?
From the Clippers? That wouldn't be
it's still going to be associated with Donald Sterling.
Right. If it's still associated with, you're right. They should think about changing the name. But I think they could take their time with that, because I think first things first, get him out of the way. Make sure the team is still right. Doc Rivers is there, so they're going to be right. If it was up to me, I would have moved them to Seattle. But the population in L.A. is much more than Seattle. So I guess money-wise, you might as well keep them in L.A. But being a lover of the Lakers, as long as the opposing jersey doesn't read New York, I'm like, move them to Seattle or something. But, and, I grew up liking the Sonics fans. I thought they were great fans. You know what I mean? GP was nice. Gus Williams, Downtown Freddie Brown, Jack Sikma. I used to enjoy watching that squad. So I really want Seattle to get their team back. I just didn't want it at the expense of Sacramento, because they have great fans too. But I think the Clippers, the LA already has the Lakers, but in the name of Billy Crystal, all right, Penny Marshall, keep them in LA. All right. Cool.
It would be something. I mean, you know what? Again, that puts a damper on really the prospect of Seattle getting another team. I don't know where that team is going to come from. I thought it might have been the Milwaukee Bucks. They still do not have a new arena, but these new owners are committed to keeping them in Milwaukee. And Steve Ballmer was a part of that group up in Seattle that was looking to buy a team. And, he bought a team that he paid $2 billion for, which he overpaid, but at the same time, the Staples Center lease and deal that they have is atrocious. I mean, it's really catered to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Right.
So it remains to be seen. I don't want a team in Seattle if we have to go through expansion, because the NBA is already a watered-down product. We don't need to see any more bad teams. Hopefully, unfortunately, if there is going to be a team move, it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. But right now, Seattle looks like it's not going to have a team, and they're not going to have an NBA team anytime soon. And it'd be really interesting. So real quick, who are you picking? How many games?
Oh man, if Tony Parker is not right, I'm going with Miami in 6.
Miami in 6.
If Tony Parker's right, I'm going with San Antonio in 6.
Well, wait a minute. That sounds like a politician answer, right? Come on, man. That's a politician answer.
Yo, G, for real, that's how important Tony Parker is to the San Antonio Spurs. You know it, and I know it. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I'm not a fan of either team anyway, but I love basketball, so I got to give my 2 cents.
Well, you know what? A round of applause for Fife. He stood his ground. I don't agree with it. I'm taking Miami in 6. I'm not going on that. I think Dwayne Wade is healthy. I think that they will be able to utilize and neutralize a lot of the stuff that the Spurs were able to do. And once again, you have the greatest player on the planet and LeBron James. And one thing we've known about LeBron, he's been in this situation before, and he knows how to get it done. And he knows he's very, very close to winning another championship and solidifying himself even furthermore in the lore of being one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Phife, your thoughts on tonight's show, first show? What are your thoughts?
It was definitely fun, man. I'm looking forward to Wednesdays from here on out. You know what I mean? So let's get it popping.
Absolutely, man. That about wraps it up. Great show with Phife Dog. Like to thank Chantelle Anderson, Mike Basone. Like to thank Derek Anderson. Like to thank, more importantly, you. Make sure you check it out on YouTube. For Phife Dog, I'm Gerald Brown. Chante Cheeks. Phife Dog, I'm Gerald Brown. Thank you so much. Bottom Line Sports Show out. Don't forget, next Wednesday, Bottom Line Sports Show's out. Peace.
Yeah.